Sports for Real with Coach Hall. I spent the last week or so going back and forth to St. Augustine. Had some family business, had a funeral to attend to, and some other things to take care of down there. And every time I go there, it evokes memories of childhood, not only from the family perspective, but from the rivalry that we have with the town of St. Augustine. That is our natural rival. And if you know anything about Florida, it seems like every city in Florida or town has a rival with somebody close by. Jacksonville, big city, it's not close to Miami, but those two don't tend to get along. Gainesville and Ocala really hate each other. Lake Wales and Haines City is another one. I'm sure there's many, many others out there that I don't know anything about, but St. Augustine just happens to be the team or town that we didn't get along with. So coming up as a kid, you would hear stories about some of the things that took place within the rivalry in football. And one of them was, if you go to St. Augustine, the team bus would pull up right to the south end of that stadium there. If you coming down Varela, and as you come past the school and get ready to turn into the football area, that's where the bus is parked. And it's kind of like a one-way in, one-way out kind of thing. And the buses had to make like a loop or turn around somehow to get out. Legend has it that that's when the locals will rock your bus. Always heard that. Well, during the funeral I went to, ran into a couple guys that played for St. Augustine in the early 70s. So I asked, hey man, look here. Is it true that you guys used to rock up the bus when Palaca came to town? They started laughing and said, yep, that's true. Not only did they get Palaca, they got Stark and they got Clay County. So there it is right there. The mystery resolved. And you will find stories like that all throughout the state. You're going to rock up to the rival's bus. And when you go to their town, they're going to rock you up. So it goes back and forth. You got me this time, I'm going to get you next time. Well, this is the kind of thing that make rivalries interesting. And just to give you somewhat of an idea about the kind of rivalry that Palaca St. Augustine has, it is the second oldest continuous rivalry in the state behind DeSoto and Arcadia, DeSoto, and I forget their rival. But in the 70s, real rivalry, back and forth, back and forth. You beat me this time, I beat you the next time. But then things started to change when they opened up the new building in Palaca. From that point on into the 70s, they won 2 out of the 3, opening up in the fall of 77. But then in the 1980s hit, they only lost, they beat the brakes off St. Augustine countless times, losing only 3 times in the 80s and the 90s combined. But then when 2000 hit, the series changed. It looked at that point like St. Augustine would never win. Well, they got a new coach, Joey Wiles, and he turned the program around. And now that rivalry is completely flipped. Since 2000, my side has only won, I know at the most, 4 games. And I believe it's 3. But in modern time, people think different than the way they thought when I was in school. For instance, I found out last year that St. Augustine wants to drop the series. They want to drop the series because it hasn't been very competitive lately, and they've been building several schools around St. Johns County that may have an interest for that program. For instance, when I was there, they only had Hastings High School, which closed in '85, and Nice. Now they have Ponte Vedra, they got Bartram Trail, they got Menendez, they got Creekside, they just opened up Beachside recently, and just before that, Toccoa Creek. So none of these programs really can't compete with St. Augustine, but it's still a county rivalry that could bud, that if they just got rid of Palaca, that's something they can grow with. But I was insulted by that, as a lot of people should be, because when you were getting beat like you're beating us now, it was no talk of dropping you then. He was trying to figure out a way of how we're going to beat you guys. But the thing is, with this modern stuff going on with the transfer policy, and now you have NIL, it is unlikely that series is going to turn around anytime soon. And they can continue to dominate like they have been. The series is probably going to die. Why do I say that? Well, St. Augustine, they just lost the state championship game in the very last seconds, which they should have won that game. They lost in the very last second. So their program is high at the right time. They're going to get people that want to come in and play from other places. And it's a community that has some deep pockets. So you may have some boosters out there who are willing to give athletes some NIL deals. But if that is the case, they're going to attract, whereas in my school is going the opposite way. People are getting their kids out of there because they feel like, things hadn't changed very much down there. It's kind of like 1963. Whether that's true or not, that's the way some people feel about it. But if they don't find a way to reverse things, that rivalry with St. Augustine is going to go away. And I believe that that is the case in a lot of the small towns when they're trying to compete with areas who are doing better than them right now at the right time. But speaking of NIL, I noticed last week that there has been at least one signing with NIL. There's this guy at Gulf Breeze High, he's a star baseball player. He has inked a deal with a law firm. And he is the first known player in the state to sign a NIL deal. And it kind of surprised me. I'm not too familiar with Gulf Breeze. I think that is Santa Rosa County. That is the county next door to Pensacola. I know Santa Rosa, they've been known to have some great improvements up there, especially up there around Walton County. Got a little money floating around down there. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised that a deal was inked in that case, but I still thought that the private schools would take the lead in that. Why? Because the private schools have connections to the people with the money. For instance, Ransom Everglades. I don't know how much it costs to go to the average private school, but I found that it costs $49,000 a year to go to a Ransom Everglades school. And that includes lunch. $49,000. So if you got people who are willing to pay that kind of money for tuition, why would it be impossible to think they didn't have enough people in the business world that will want to invest in that program even more to build up the athletics? So that is a program you might want to keep an eye on. I don't know if they have sports because you don't hear too much about Ransom Everglades, but it's not their purpose to win games and all of that. It's a true program, academic program trying to advance academically so you can advance in life, because you know that sports only last for so long and a tiny fraction of the people are going to make it to a higher level. But now that you have this NIL thing going on, it's a perfect way to improve the program while maintaining their core values. So why not? But even if Ransom Everglades does not pursue athletic success, you have other schools around the state that's already been doing well as private schools, and they have connections just like the people at the Ransom Everglades. That's why I think that the private schools are going to improve while the public schools are going backwards. And if you are aware of what's going on, there seems to be a push to close the public schools in Florida. That's always going to be public schools, whether they're successful at the end goal or not. But if you're going to take the best athletes out of the public school by giving them NIL deals and letting them transfer to private schools, that's going to reduce the level of play in the public schools. And if you don't have a great football team, nobody wants to support that. Those programs are going to choke themselves out. And that is not good. So the end game with this NIL, yes, it's good for athletes to make some money, but if you look at the big picture, is hurting high school sports as a whole, especially the public schools. So as this thing unfolds, as you see Preston Mosley, and congratulations, by the way, Mr. Mosley. I saw some of the stats that you have for your baseball. You seem to have a bright future there. And, you know, getting some money now sooner than later, because you're going to get it anyway as long as you have no injuries or anything. Seems like you're going to have a pretty bright career playing baseball. But I'm still surprised that the public school was able to break through with that first deal there. And I hope that is a good sign that most deals can remain in the public schools to keep the system intact. I still disagree that high school players should be paid, but if you're in position to take advantage of it, why not? But once you start paying players, especially here in Florida, and where the teachers and the coaches don't make a whole lot of money, and you put a kid in position to make more than the coaches and teachers, what kind of respect is he going to have for the system and the situation that's surrounding the system? Eventually, this thing is going to collapse. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Until I get some more information on that, I want to stop it right there. But just to recap, find out some information about the rivalry between Palatka and St. Augustine. Yes, it was true they used to rock buses back in the days. I always heard that. And while it may sound tragic to some, this is the kind of thing that keeps rivalries going. And maybe what Palatka need to do to turn this series around and start rocking the bus up again, maybe that'll get them excited down there to do something. Because right now, the way things are going, you might well just put the whole program and dump it into the St. Johns River the way it's going. But that's just my perspective. Till then, next time, this has been Sports for Real.